Viewers, the latest news about the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia is that Belarus cited the deterioration of the situation in East Ukraine as one reason for keeping an estimated 30,000 Russian troops on its territory. And the move will add it to fear that Russia plans an invasion of Ukraine, which shares a long border with Belarus. Because Western leaders have accused Moscow of seeking a pretext to send in troops. Russia has denied its plans to invade its neighbor. It has not yet confirmed the Belarus Defense Ministry statement. And explosions were heard in the East Ukrainian conflict zone through the night and into Sunday, today. And detonations could be heard from the separatist held city of Donetsk while both sides said they had come under heavy shell fire. And a top European Union official asked if Moscow was any longer interested in diplomacy. The big question remains, does the Kremlin want dialogue? Or European Council President Charles Michel asked at the Munich Security Conference. We cannot forever offer an olive branch while Russia conducts missile tests and continues to amass troops. Mr. Putin spoke to his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron by phone again on Sunday, after which the French leader called Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And according to US estimate, Russia has mustered up to 1,90,000 troops, including separatist forces in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Mr. Putin has been demanding guarantees that NATO will not admit Ukraine, a former Soviet state with close ties to Russia, while the Western alliance denies it poses any threat to Russia. Because there are fear that a Russian military intervention could start a war even broader than the conflict in eastern Ukraine, which has cost at least 14,000 lives. And United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson told BBC News he had seen evidence to suggest Russia was planning the biggest war in Europe since 1945. And an explosion bombed out in Donetsk on Sunday morning. Separatists in Luhansk accused government forces of crossing the front line to mount an attack which killed two civilians. And no proof was given for the allegation, but Russian investigators opened an inquiry. It was unclear on what legal basis the Russian investigation was being conducted, but Russia has given citizenship to at least 7,20,000 people in rebel territories. And the separatists and government forces accused each other of violating the ceasefire dozens of times on Sunday. On Saturday, international monitors reported that ceasefire violations had increased dramatically this week. Tens of thousands of civilians are being evacuated from the separatist territories into Russia, while men of fighting age are being mobilized to fight. And speaking as she prepared to leave Donetsk for Russia by bus with her 4-year-old daughter, an evacuee who gave her name as Tatiana told Reuters news agency, "It's really scary. I have taken everything it could carry." And separatist leader accused the government of planning an offensive to regain control of the territories, an allegation rejected earlier by the head of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, security watchdog. We deplore the spreading of disinformation about an imminent military action by Ukrainian government forces, and this critically affects the civilian population in the conflict zone. Helga, the OSCE's Secretary General, said in a joint statement with Polish Foreign Minister Zbigniew Rau. Mr. Zelensky has said his nation will not respond to provocations. Two Ukrainian soldiers were killed in the conflict zone on Saturday. He accused Western leaders of a policy of appeasement toward Moscow and demanded security guarantees for Ukraine, which officially aspires to join both NATO and the European Union. And the front lines in eastern Ukraine are rarely silent. At the very last, there is sniper fire between Kremlin backed rebels and Ukrainian forces. But now the big guns are back. In recent days, there has been a barrage of artillery and mortar fire. We heard it ourselves at frontline positions in Novotoroisk. As we reached the trenches on foot, crossing flat ground where snow has given way to sucking layers of mud, and two fresh faced troops led the way, standing stock still at the rumble of shelling a few kilometers away. Viewers, on the other hand, the latest satellite images provided by the United States Space Technology Company Maxar show that wide-scale Russian military activity persists close to Ukraine's borders, despite recent Russian claims of de-escalation and withdrawal. Picture you can see on your screen, taken in mid-February, they illustrate that Ukraine remains surrounded on three sides on its border with both Russia and Belarus by Russian military, hardware and troops concentrations. Of particular concern is the presence of a new field hospital at some distance to the near at the Osipovichi training area in the northwestern Belarus. While this could be a legitimate part of any large-scale fixed exercise, it could also be an indication of expected battle casualties from an imminent conflict. And other troops, concentrations, and activity are considerably closer to Ukraine's borders. A military pontoon bridge over the river was pictured on 15 February. It is less than 4 kilometers from Belarus border with Ukraine. Analysts of London-based McKinsey intelligence services have highlighted the large staging area on the right bank of the river as an indicator of possible intent to move large number of vehicles. Some reports have suggested that the pontoon may have been removed. Another image is of self-propelled artillery or large caliber guns mounted on a tank's chassis arrayed at Brestske, which is about 30 miles from the border. A newly arrived unit of 20 anti-tank attack helicopters was pictured at Zaborovka airfield, 19 miles from the border. And McKinsey intelligence analysts say that there are 20 probably Russian Hukum and 5 probably Hind or Mi-28 Havoc helicopters. It is important to remember that Russia's current military presence of around 30,000 troops in Belarus, while alarming the both Ukraine and NATO, are part of joint scheduled exercises that are due to conclude on 20 February. So a key test of Moscow's intentions will come after that date when satellite images will reveal if the bulk of Russian forces there have remained or departed. And there is nothing in these images that definitely proves that Russia is about to invade Ukraine. Russia continues to insist that this is not its intention and that any such suggestions is part of Western propaganda. But NATO defense chief believe Russia now has sufficient forces in place around Ukraine to execute an invasion should President Putin give the order. And the scale, magnitude, and configuration of Russia's deployment close to Ukraine's borders is unprecedented with, for example, air defense units brought in from thousands of miles away in the east of Siberia. Under Putin's leadership, Russia's military has undergone a dramatic transformation from the dark days of the 1990s following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Those two things have happened that have made Russia's military a force to the reckoned with. Firstly, huge amount of state money have been invested in modernizing and upgrading troops, equipment, weapons, cyber and logistics from the latest versions of cyber attacks to reorganizing combat units into compact tactical battalion groups of around 800 troops supported by tanks, artillery, and other arms. And secondly, Russian commanders and planners have spent the last 7 years gaining valuable combat experience in Syria and eastern Ukraine. Their weapons have been tested on the battlefield, and Russian commanders have learned from earlier mistakes. And taken together, Western analysts believe Moscow could, if it choose, maintain a sizable and threatening military presence around Ukraine's border for weeks, if not months to come. So viewers, so far the latest update. For more latest update, please subscribe channel. Thanks for watching.